Well, welcome everybody to the 2013 Bean post-draft odds. I did do the pre-draft odds on video, and by popular demand, I am doing the post-draft odds. I do have a co-host with me today, Thomas Polina. If you want to pan on Tommy real quick.
That's me right here.
A long time ago, long before the mock drafts ever were created, Tommy and I invented the mock draft. Okay, and we always used to talk about everybody's team and evaluate them. And that's part of what drafting is about too, knowing your opponents just as much as you know yourself. I'm going to start in draft order, and right away we're going to go with the Mets. The Mets, Richard Stark, he's very, very nice guy, competed well throughout the years. But what I noticed the draft this year was he took a table in the back and he hid back there. And every time he would announce a pick, he would come up like a little rat and just announce his pick. Very sneaky, Richard Stark. But the one thing he did right off the bat was blow the first pick. You do not take Miguel Cabrera over Mike Trout. Right away you go with Mike Trout. He gave McFlint a gift. So right there it tells me, he's not ready to take the next step into competing for a title. He could come in fourth, he could come in third, but not title worthy. I don't know if I see enough power on this team. Any support here for Cabrera? Rollins and Zobrist and Hosmer and and Ethier and Mercado and Kubel. I don't know if that's enough, and some of them are young. A lot of poor batting averages there, and I need a little help. I don't trust his offense. And is Gio Gonzalez someone you can anchor a team with, Tom? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I disagree with you on the Miguel Cabrera pick.
Really?
I absolutely would pick Miguel Cabrera number one. I think in the beginning you don't try to win a draft with the first couple picks. You try not to lose a draft with the first couple picks. And a guy like Miguel Cabrera, who's done it for years on end and years on end, that's a guy you can count on. You might as well just look at his stats for the past 3 years, take the average, and put it right on your team at the end of the year, because that's what you can count on. A guy like Mike Trout, yeah, he did it for 1 year, and he was stinky poopies at the end of that year, too. Unlike a Bryce Harper. Excuse me, I'm going to speak right now, right? I just say, please. And it's not like a guy like Bryce Harper who did good at the end of the year and was coming on. Obviously, that showed in the game that just happened with 2 home runs. Mike Trout, we have yet to see what he can do. He has no past history, no track record. I think that was a solid pick. I do agree with you, though. He doesn't have a lot of power. I think the Mets did hide in the back. I think he came in with a quiet cockiness. Yes. He had that little smirk on his face.
Yeah, like a little rat looking for cheese.
Obviously, I was one of the people that predicted that his team would come from the bottom of the basement. Nobody else, everybody laughed at me and this and the other thing, but I was the person that went out on a limb and said, with full confidence, this guy's got a great team and he's going to make the best run. Of course, lo and behold, he did, because I have good predictions like that. And now he's got a little too much confidence. He's got a little too much cockiness because it showed in his draft. He has a couple decent picks. I like Jamie Garcia, got him late. Gio Gonzalez is obviously a good pitcher. Matt Moore, speculatively good. John Lester, you're hoping and praying. Julio Teheran should be good. I don't know, Rich. It's I think his cockiness may be his downfall.
I agree with you. I think he was very overconfident, and like I said, he's not ready to take the next step. And he needs to do more. I don't trust him that more. A little too high. The 6th round?
Yeah.
What about his wildness? And you know what? Is Lester going to come back and give Gio the support that he needs?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. No. Well, I don't know. I'd give it to him. I'm not sold on a Gio Gonzalez. But what about Hosmer? When is he going to come? Everybody's been waiting for him a long time.
Well, I'm not waiting for him.
Well, and his batting average, 232 last year. Manny Machado, 262. Zobrist, 270. Jimmy Rollins, 250. I think this team is in trouble.
Got some holes.
And what about Altuve, Pierre Martin? No power whatsoever.
No.
Juan Pierre, why even draft Juan Pierre? You know what I mean? I really don't like this team, to be honest with you. I think he gets nothing. He had a poor draft after round 18.
Well, let me ask you then, Rich, so we don't, what kind of odds are you giving Richie Stark and his cockiness?
I'm giving Richie Stark and his overconfident cockiness about 150 to 1.
Wow, you're giving him pretty good odds.
You know what I mean? Why?
Okay. No, hey, listen, this is your show. This is your show.
I think that.
Shall we move on?
I think that he can. He's going to have poor batting average. He's waiting for these new guys to come. They may never come, Matt Moore and Eric Hosmer. And I see him running into closer issues.
Yeah, I agree. I see closer issues
all over the place.
Especially if J.J. Putz doesn't pan out.
Let's say 151. Nothing really.
Okay, 150 to 1. The next team, Rich, is McFlint. Why don't you talk about him?
McFlint had the number 2 pick. Now, they got a gift in Mike Trout. But before we go into the team, I don't know if I like the new Chris Donnie. this gluten-free, no alcohol, no smoking, watching what he eats, Chris Donnie. And this Rich Ramirez who's getting engaged. I mean, Rich Ramirez was lost throughout the whole draft. I mean, Chris Donnie, but did you see the belly on him? I mean, could you blame him? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's having trouble finding his you-know-what, but we won't go there. Anyway, what about Rich Ramirez? I mean, the first time anybody had trouble with the clock was these two, and then all of a sudden they caused a commotion, and give me the clock, I want the clock, and they totally panicked, and they picked Lance Lynn.
They did, but Rich Ramirez did have about 2% body fat.
Yes, he did.
He had about 2% body fat. He was looking good.
But at the end of the draft, Rich Ramirez says, Julius Chassin, when Torch picked him, and Rich Ramirez goes, wasn't he taken already? Wasn't a Colorado Rocky pitcher taken already? Yeah, the Rockies have 10 pitchers on their team and 5 starters. That doesn't mean, Chassin was taken already. I thought the Trout pick, they didn't want the first pick. They were scared to have the first pick, which tells me they're nervous. They're unsure of themselves. The change in Chris Donnie, I really don't like their team that much. To get to their team, why do these guys continue to draft hurt players? Hanley Ramirez, Matt Garza, Brian McCann, they consistently try to get the guy that's hurt and plan for his comeback. Why?
I don't know why that is. I can understand taking a chance on 1 or 2 people. I mean, I can understand taking a chance on Hanley Ramirez because God knows everybody likes to be the person that says, "Oh, he's coming back." When he comes back, meanwhile they're losing stats while he's coming back. And you have to have healthy people on your team or else you don't get healthy stats. You get 0 stats, actually, when you don't have healthy people on your team. Hanley Ramirez is nice to stock away, but that also takes up a spot on your reserve. It takes up a spot on your reserve for someone that could get injured. So really, you don't want to start out of the gate behind the 8 ball
100%.
with an injured player, especially a 10th round pick. Now, I could argue that, you could argue that he could go and he's justified and that's true, but I'm not drafting an injured player. And that's my opinion on that. As far as like a quick overview, I like their pitching sort of. I like their power. They could definitely use some speed. But their pitching could fall apart at any second. That's the problem. Even though they got some names there, and it looks impressive on the surface, it's very thin ice. And I think if they walk on the ice too long or skate around too long, they're going to fall through and they're going to see some cracks in the ice.
You know what, though? I think they really had some bad draft picks. I mean, Kendrys Morales in the 8th round, another guy they're infatuated with. They picked this guy like 3 years in a row.
They do, and you're absolutely right about it. It is a bad pick.
Lance Lynn in the 7th round. I mean, yeah, they get Belcher, they get Stead. That's a stretch. I mean, that's way too early.
Yep.
I mean, I like Espinosa, but R.A. Dickey, is he going to come back?
But to start out, you got to give him credit. Trout, Beltran, Giancarlo Stanton. That's pretty good for a 14-team league.
It's a nice.
That's pretty good for a 14-team league.
It's a nice way to start, but they totally choked in rounds 19 to 26. Tommy Hanson, Brian McCann, Justin Ruggiano, Cliff Pennington, Jose Valverde. Jose Valverde, why even take him? He's not even on somebody's team. I think this
a name pick.
It's a name pick. It's a non-prepared name pick, a panic pick. Just to sum up their team, I don't think they have much speed other than Trout. They took Lynn way too early. I do like their 3 closers. They had a horrible late draft. I think they really got maybe 8 good players out of 26. 8. Other than that, I don't like this team, and I think they're one of the worst teams. And
what are the odds you're giving them there?
The odds I'm giving them is 300 to 1, and I'm so happy Trout is going to waste his whole season on this team.
Wow, that's something big
300
to say.
to 1.
That's. Well, we're going to go with the club and Eugene Guire, who you love to, lick some ass there. You do. But what's funny? Towards the end of this draft, I saw you going away from that. He made one particular pick, which I'm sure we'll come across, and you totally took off the little kitty gloves with him, and you let him know how you really feel. And I'm going to let you talk about it first before I come.
Well, I think Eugene succumbed to the pressure of my pre-draft video. And I think he thought he would come into the draft, and I gave him 10 to 1 odds, and I said, look out for this guy, and he thought it was going to be easy. So I don't know what happened with him. We all know that sometimes, things go wrong, but he just didn't come in prepared. I mean, he struggled all day. He struggled with the pace of the draft. He always kept asking who got drafted. He leaves the room way too much. You know, and you got to give him 5 or 6 picks. Who went? And you know, this is about preparation. You just can't come in and draft these teams. You know, he took Ryan Braun, which, you know, is going to be a headache all year with the PED situation. He wasted a pick on Jason Mott. I mean, this guy's got a tear in the elbow. Why would you even go near him? He could have done so much better than Hudson in round 6. I mean, Tim Hudson.
Well, that was the pick, Rich.
I was easy on him. I was
that
easy
you were
on
going
him.
easy. You literally had his balls on your chin until the number 6 pick with Tim Hudson, and then they just, you know, the pants went up, and that was the end of that. You know, you didn't like his team from then on.
He needs to, if he wants any shot, he's got to grab a hold of his team quickly and make the changes. And I don't know if I could trust him. I mean, what if Ryan Braun gets suspended?
Well, the problem, you know, with Eugene, Rich, is that he seems to have caught a little bit of Darrellitis. And the Darrellitis syndrome is, I draft a name team. I draft a name brand team. Names that have been around for 10, 15 years. And this is what Eugene Guire has done. And this is where it seems that his direction and his habits seem to be going.
Eugene Geary. I'm sorry. He corrected me.
Geary. I'm sorry about that.
I didn't know either.
I apologize about that. But you know, you have to take it into consideration that Eugene is starting to pick names. He's starting to put together teams that have names that are big. He always goes for like big bats and stuff like that. He's got some decent power, and you know, it's going to be tough for him to win though. I think once he picked Tim Hudson, I agree, it just really went down.
And Roger Davis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
old school speed.
Old school speed. Play. Why not take Mitchell Boggs if you're going to take Jason Mott? You know, I do like Jake Bruce. You know, and I maybe like his first 6 or 7 picks, but then he just blows it. You know, just to end it on Eugene, I don't think it's the overall worst team in the league.
No, absolutely.
And I actually give him about 101 odds.
You're giving him pretty good
odds. But you know, but it's not to win. It's to win, not to come in the money.
It is to win, and you still lick his balls a little.
Yeah, no problem.
The next team that we're going to be talking about are the Pittsburgh Crawfords, who apparently this is Chris Dolan.
This is Chris Dolan
and John Dolan and John Coleman. Dolan and Coleman.
Coleman and Dolan, I get them confused. And the funny thing about this team is,
now there was only one representative.
One representative.
Okay.
And did you see the size of that book he was using? What the hell was that? Was
that
an almanac?
Oh my God!
I mean, was that like a Bible?
I use that in my car seat.
Jesus Christ, that thing was so big. That was like one of those old school baseball almanacs, and he had a laptop.
But dude, what are you getting out of those things at that time?
You know what I mean? What are you?
I mean, are you reading that book?
No, you're not reading that book.
Are you reading that book?
Can you see the stats?
60 seconds.
He challenged the clock a ton of times.
Oh, he did. But he was never nervous.
No,
he was never nervous.
But I thought he was a little nervous because he wanted to show himself well. You know.
No, I think he did show himself well. He didn't look like he didn't have nervous syndrome.
I thought he was a little nervous. I thought there was too much going on. He was fumbling throughout that book. The clock was ticking. He wanted to come in and
he had the center seat.
He was overwhelmed. Yes, he was stuck in the middle.
I don't know if he was overwhelmed. I think he did all right for.
He had good enthusiasm.
He did.
You know, you got to give him credit for that. But let's talk about his team. I mean, was Cano the right pick at the fourth? You know, right fourth pick. Do you go with Cano there?
We already had discussions about this. How we both feel about Cano.
Yeah,
I know he's in a contract year. Some people feel like he's going to go bananas this year. That he's a Yankee. He's the only second baseman you can grab that has a couple steals, as super average in power, ton of runs, boatload of runs. But as we both talked about before, you know, what about PEDs? And you say, Tom, Cano's not on any PEDs. Yeah, but his best friend wasn't he? Melky Cabrera.
Yes.
And they're like best friends. You know, they're Spanish, they're best friends. They hang out together. And listen, it could be a PED problem. You could see a suspension coming down the line for Cano. Maybe it's a long shot, but do I want him on my team? Do you want that headache, Rich? And do you want the number 4 pick to be Robinson Cano?
No, I did not want the number 4 pick. For me, if I'm going to use a number 4 pick on a player, I got to get more of a 5-tooler or target something better like a pitcher.
I like this Cole Hamels, Max Scherzer.
I don't know. Cole Hamels, he every once in a while he has a bad year. He picked Max Scherzer way too high. Another one with control issues.
He did pick him way too high, but he does have control, but he does strike a ton of people out.
But Cole Hamels, I think, for the strikeouts.
Cole Hamels was definitely the best pitcher on that team.
B.J. Upton, Martin Prado, Alex Gordon, Shin Chu Chu. These are magazine picks. They're early. He took these guys way too early. He's waiting for the hope. Asdrubal Cabrera. You know, I don't know if I like this team that much. Honestly, he's got no relief. Carlos Marmol and Kenley Jensen. I mean, what are you doing? You got to come better than that.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
No creativity. He's a very boring team. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to struggle here. He's got no pitching support. Anibal Sanchez, Brett Myers, Dylan G, Derek Holland. I mean, I can't trust that. I think he's 400 to 1.
It's
a horrible team. No offense, but I don't think he has a shot here whatsoever.
All right.
Whatsoever.
Welcome to the league.
Welcome.
Now we're gonna now, if it was all possible that you can have a second set of nuts on your chin, this person and this team is absolutely the team. It's Donald Carrata in time zones. You absolutely blow them every year. You always complain that when you try to make a trade with them, they want your balls, they want an arm and a leg. But you know what's funny? You end up trading with them, so they're obviously getting an arm and a leg from you. And what's your opinion about time zones and Donald Carrata?
Well, let me say one thing, that I gave them good praise in the pre-draft, and let me tell you something, they delivered. This is my post-draft favorite. I got them at 3 to 1 odds, and let me tell you why. He worked the phone all day with his brother in that room with all the commotion, anticipated their picks when it was their turn to go, didn't delay anything. You know what I mean? And, Donald never has, like, that worry, look on his face. He just sits there, quiet, doesn't talk with anybody else, and he gets focused. And I tell you what, I think his brother has the brains behind the operation, but they do it together well, But I think that they were dying to get back in the league and prove it. He joined a Yahoo league. Could you believe it? He joined a Yahoo league last year. And I think when you leave a good league and you go to, like, some free Yahoo league or some $100 Yahoo league, you really want to come back and do what you miss. This is what I love about this team. Bumgarner and Wainwright, 4th and 5th rounds. 2 stud anchors, in my opinion, in the 4th and 5th rounds. I like the combo. Do you like that combo?
I think it's a safe combo. I think Bumgarner in the 4th round was a really good pickup, especially with the way that pitchers were going at that time.
Yes.
Especially when we pretty much started the rush at pitching. Yes. By taking so many pitchers early, but we'll get to that later. Adam Wainwright, yes, he has history of being a good pitcher, and God knows Donald's from that time. He's from the Wainwright era. We're from the Wainwright era. He was in the prime of our fantasy baseball years, but he was injured, and he came back. And yes, he had a great comeback last year towards the end of the year and stuff like that, and maybe he will pitch good. Do I trust him for a full year to give back stats that he's given in the past? No, I don't, and he won't be on my team for a 5th round pick. Harron's a shaky dude. We don't know what he's going to do, but he is pitching in a bigger.
I don't like Harron at all.
I know, but he is pitching in a bigger ballpark, and he has done it before. Again, though, another old school pick. Okay, Jonathan Nietzsche, you're taking a stretch there with the 11th pick. I know you do. And Minor and Malone, he's got some decent pitchers, but then there's some stretch and some speculation, And then his offense, you can't go wrong. LaRoche, Kinsler, Alexei Ramirez, David Wright, Walker, Alonzo Kemp, Holiday, Gomez. I mean, Gomez in the 7th round is a ridiculous stretch, but whatever. He's got some issues in the outfield, okay, and he's got a little bit of power issues, a little bit. But other than that, I don't know. Keep going with your assessment of Donald's team.
Is Matt Kemp? Is everybody waiting for Matt Kemp? Like, does he still deserve to go this high? He had one good year, so now you're putting all your hopes that he's going to repeat and come back with a 40-40 season. And I don't know if Matt Kemp could do it. And this is.
But if he gets you 38 and 100 plus RBIs, he was worth the 1st round.
But this ain't a Donald style taking offense. Donald.
Well, that's why we both knew. We didn't know. And remember what I said. He has a good chance of taking Kemp with the 4th pick. Or the 5th, what do you think? The 5th pick. He had a good chance of taking Kemp. You also thought he might take a pitcher at that time, but I thought it might be a little too early. So that's a confusing pick for him. I think, he had to make a game time decision.
Just sticking with his team, I love the Matt Kemp pick somewhat, but I really like the Gomez pick. I think this guy could steal 50 bases. I love that he's got Archer on his reserve and Will Myers. I think Archer's going to help this team out. I think Starlin Marte is the real deal. I don't think he wasted a pick. There's depth here. There's Minor, there's Neese, there's Maloney, there's Mora, there's Mahone. This is depth in the pitching staff. He's got closers. I think he had 2 bad picks his whole draft. I thought the Venable pick was bad, and I thought the Dan Harron pick was bad. But this is a guy that knows what he's doing. He has titles, and I tell you the truth, I really love this team, and I think he has the favorite to win after the post-draft.
The next team we have, Rich, is 24 hours.
24 home runs.
24 home runs.
Yeah, we all make that mistake before. I've always fought with Chris and Anthony throughout the years, but mainly Chris Bracone. But this is what I think about Chris. I don't know if they joined the league to compete anymore. I think they joined the league because they're infatuated with me. They just want to be in the league that I'm in. They want to watch me run the draft. They want to see who I pick. And then they want, I don't know. I think they lost their focus. They don't change their style. They don't do something different. They're like, I don't know. I think they prepared the night before. I mean, this is what I look at. They're another ones I think they're going to come in here and easy. They never worry about closing. They never worry about getting a stud pitcher. They're too infield and offensive minded. And I don't think they go with what generation we're in fantasy-wise. They're not a modern-day drafters. They can't adjust their mentality. And I think they get distracted and lost sometimes, and they worry more about what's going on. Do you really have to take Joey Votto with the 6th pick? I mean, you can't do better than that. I mean,
you know what? I don't think you can go wrong with the Joey Votto pick. The Reds are definitely one of my picks to win the whole thing this year. And I just think 24 home run. They may have been stuck in a specific generation of drafting. I don't think they've modernized their drafting.
No, they have not at all.
I don't think they've realized that how the league's changed in the past few years. Maybe they have. And believe me, I like them. I like having them in the league, and they're great guys. Definitely good characters to have in the league. I just think that their drafting has waned. And because they definitely concentrate as much, they still do the same things. Mm-hmm. They still talk, they still communicate, they still go on the message boards, this, that, and the other thing. But it just, the results are a little,
You know a 24 home run team when you see it. And this has got 24 home run written all over.
I guess so. I don't know.
Jordan Zimmerman as your anchor. I mean, can you?
Yeah, that was a little rough with the fifth. Yeah, but pitching was going. That could have been a result of the pitching.
You could have done better in the 5th round than that.
I thought so. I thought it was a tough pick.
Axford Street as your closest.
I thought that was a tough pick
and Houston
too.
Street. Axford might lose his job first. So what about Garner, Ibar, and Cedes Escobar? I mean, they're not going to give you any power. You know what I mean? So, I think it's a dinosaur mentality. They have a bad closer situation. They may get the lead, 2nd, 3rd. I just don't see it. But I'm not going to give them totally bad odds. They do have 2 titles. I'm going to give them 100 to 1. But I think they just need to change it up. They need to refocus, regroup, and just come with a different game plan. You know what I mean?
Okay, the next team we have is the Bean team.
Oh, we're talking about me. Well, what I want to say about my team is that, I felt like I got a lot of my targets, and that scares me a little bit. I got almost too many to Matt Carpenter, Jed Giocco, Justin Verlander, Aroldis Chapman, Freeman, and Craig, and Harvey. I was targeting all these guys, Jared Parker, Josh Rutledge, Carl Crawford, you know what I mean? And as usual, I was prepared, and the draft doesn't, I make my picks, I do them quick, and everybody, I noticed a lot of oohs and ahs and ahs when I made a pick, because I took a lot of other teams' players, but, what kind of support will Harvey, Parker, and Brett Anderson be to Justin Verlander? I like them. Do you have any opinions about that? Are they enough support for Justin Verlander?
Well, I mean, first I have to say that you're definitely not short of an opinion, a high opinion of yourself, and, some of your picks are, pretty decent stuff. As far as your pitching staff, Verlander was a good pick with the #1 pick. You could totally justify it, and that's always good to anchor staff with him. Lo and behold, who did it last year and who followed suit right away with the same pick. I mean, it's not a coincidence. What works, works. And you can't get lucky twice in 2 years, so you might as well go with a solid plan that does work. And the one person that had a solid plan was me, and I feel very, very honored that you would imitate my style. So lo and behold, we have Justin Verlander. But after that, I don't know. Matt Harvey with the 6th pick. Okay. Aroldis Chapman with the 2nd pick. Okay, yeah, maybe these guys are good. We know Aroldis Chapman is very good. But with the 2nd pick, that's a stretch and a half.
The guys you want.
Anyway, then Brett Anderson with the 9th pick. I mean, you could have grabbed him in the 13th or the 14th round. Brett Anderson. But okay, he pitched a good game the other day. Depends how much you believe in him. But as a 3rd starter, you want Brett Anderson as your 3rd starter? You want Matt Harvey as your 2nd starter? That's the only thing I'm asking you. Not saying they can't have good years. God knows I used to pick people off the waiver wire. Scraps and skidoos, and they would put out Cy Young years. So I know what it's about. I know how to scrape the bottom of the barrel. But coming out of a draft and Matt Harvey is your 2nd pitcher, that's very tough. Just saying it's tough. Jared Parker had your fourth pitcher. Okay, he is going to do good. Is he going to do a fourth starter pitcher? Of course you do. That's why you picked him. Justin Masterson, I don't know what the hell that's about. Whoever that guy is. Jacquin Bena, I don't even know who these people are. These are obviously stretches. You'll justify them in your own way. They don't have big stats or big histories to justify that they'll be solid in your staff. You definitely have some issues. You have two solid relievers with a decent one as a third. That's totally solid, and that's good to look at. But after Verlander, that pitching staff is an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. Your backup people are, I don't see anybody really solid that can back you up really phenomenal. Total speculation. It's good to have a couple speculation, but it's good to have more solid people too. Now, as far as your offense, yeah, you got Salvador Perez and you cream over him, but he doesn't have a year in yet. But you got him with the 14th round. But this year it seemed like catchers were going very late. God knows I got Joe. Oh, we won't talk about my team just yet. Now, you got Freddie Freeman, you were very high
yes,
on
I was.
in the third round. You got Alan Craig, you wanted him too. Matt Carpenter with the 8th, I think he's going to be good, but that's a stretch taking him early. As far as that, your team looks decent, I guess you got to do your own odds.
Yeah, so, getting back to my personal odds, I love the Freddie Freeman-Alan Craig combination. I can't believe I got him on the same team. I think Carl Crawford's going to come back and have a big year. I put him in there with Michael Bourne. I'm a little nervous about Bourne because he's coming off of his contract here. But I love Rutledge. I love Carpenter. You got to get the guys who are on the up and up. And, I think Lorenzo Cain is 30-30 capability. I think my team is balanced. I love the pitching. Maybe I can get another guy in there to give Verlander that number 2, that 1A.
Okay, so what are the odds?
My odds, I think, are 6-1. I'm giving myself the second choice post-draft, 6-1 odds.
Now we're going to go to team number 8, which is John Torchio and the Shakes.
Yes.
The Harlem
Shake. Here's another guy that, he just changes his team name every year. And one thing I noticed, and it was a blessing in disguise for him, and I think that if anybody wanted the draft to be moved out of the Legion, it was John Torchio. Because anytime we had in the Legion, he couldn't sit close to Tommy and I. But you know what he did at this draft? He got a table right near us, and he was quiet the whole time. And when I was talking with Tommy, or Tommy was talking with me, I noticed Torch would lean over and put his ear there and not say nothing, and try to listen to what we were doing. He wanted our vibe to rub off on him. And that to me, is, shows a lot of respect, but it also shows that, he just wants to do something different this year. I expect him to be more patient. He normally gets nervous. He tries to make trades right away. He gets too excited. He makes the wrong move. So I think he's going to sit on his team a little bit. He's going to take Felix Hernandez this year, and he's going to keep him. And if he gets an injury right away, he's not going to panic and do something different. He's going to try to survive the injury. So this is a change in his mentality. But as far as his draft goes, Butler, Felix, Sale, Melky. Whose team were they on last year? The 2012 Bean team. Was he at the draft just trying to copy the Bean team? Was he planning? Did he put his own list together? What was he doing? And why does Torch continue to fall into these traps of the same guys he picks? Carlos Quentin, Michael Kadaya, Billingsley, Rasmus. You know how many times he's had these guys on his team? You got to get away from that. And can he close out a draft? Torch is one of the guys that gets fatigued early. He wants to go home. His effort and his mental approach toward the end changes. And is this offense that he has too old? I mean, Victorino, Napoli, Pagan, Quentin, Kadai. Is it too old of an offense? Do you see anything in his team? I think, his offense is old. It's going to break down. I don't know if he prepares enough. His pitching is old. Too many pitches on losing teams. I think that it's his ability is is questionable here as far as how he's going to run a team. Do you see anything that that you might want to point out in his team?
Well, I think John had a very good draft. Yes, he did sit next to me. He didn't sit next to you. He asked advice. He asked me, which I was obviously all too forthright in giving him, said advice. One thing I did discuss with John, which he'll tell you in person, is that I said, John, you didn't make any mistakes in the beginning. I said, you made some solid picks. And I said, and that's what it's about. That's what it's about. You do not try to win a league with your beginning picks. You try not to lose a league. Everybody knows who the great players are. Okay, so John knew that, and he took the guys that are good. He took the guys that are going to be solid for the whole year, and that was a bonus for him. The only thing I will agree with you on, and I think he balanced it with his pitching and his offense. The only thing I will agree with you on, he does tend to get fatigued at the end, and then he did go with some name picks that he's gone with in the past. They may end up working out for him, though. So I think John did all right. I think he's going to be fine. I think this is actually going to be the year that he says, you know what, I'm not thinking about leaving.
Yeah, because he always thinks, he always does.
Always thinking about
I'm leaving.
Because he does downward pick.
Yeah, he does.
He does downward energy.
He does.
But that's all right.
We got to change that,
No, listen, he needs to change it himself, and I think he's doing a good move with a good draft, and he's going to do it himself. He's going to dig himself out of this fantasy baseball hole.
You think so? Well, personally, I mean, I could understand. I disagree with him digging out his hole. I mean,
what odds do we have there, Rich?
I
got 14 teams.
I have 250 to 1 odds. I mean, ultimately, he's going to change his approach and he's going to relax a little bit, but he just doesn't have the team, and that's ultimately what it's all about, stats.
The next
250 to 1 odds. And again, that's to win, not to come in the money.
Okay. Team number 9.
Well,
the Bistro Smokers, Sal and Walker. They were nice enough to get us to win the other day. Yes. That was a nice kick save, and that was just very nice.
Well, just because they're nice doesn't mean they can't get criticized, and I'm here to criticize them. I think that they came into the league last year, okay, and they finished well. They competed well. They choked. They really ran their team poorly down the stretch. They kept Tulo active for 2 weeks, dead at bats, and that could have cost them 3rd place. But ultimately, I think they came into this draft really overconfident, and I think they felt like they were the team to beat, even though they have nothing to show. They had 2 laptops, 2 tables, and they sat back there and they put their backs against the wall and they watched the whole draft. They had color-coded players. Their outfielders were blue, their pitchers were red. I don't even know what this whole system was about. They put a lot of work in. They might have over-prepared. And the thing about them is they just haven't been in the league long enough to know other people's styles. It's not just prepare, and come in and do well. They're basically saying, without having any rings, that we got this. And I think their overconfidence is gonna hurt them. I thought they were staring at me the whole day. You know what I mean? They were wondering what I was doing. What does it take to be a champ? What does he do? Let's look at his team. And I think they're gonna get hurt by it. I think they're gonna disappoint themselves. I mean, can they overcome a horrible last third of the draft? David Phelps, Brandon Moss, Billy Hamilton, Ross Detweiler, Cashner, this guy Pugh. I mean, these are just wasted, horrible picks. I mean, it's 7, 8, 9 picks in a row. And like you said, you have to close out well in the draft. I mean, Billy Hamilton and Pugh, I mean, are they even going to do anything? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a waste of position. You got to get more. David Phelps, why was he even drafted? And these guys prepared. They took Bryce Harper early. They got Carlos Gonzalez. They got Buster Posey, but not even that catcher. So I don't know. I mean, do you see anything on this team that you might like, or their personalities, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, I thought they actually drafted a decent team, but I am going to agree with you with the fact that the last third of their draft was absolutely horrendous. But that seems to be a common theme with a lot of people. Yes. We talked about it with Richie Stark. We talked about it with a couple other teams, and it's the same case with Bistro Smokers, and it does look like about the last quarter of their draft was pretty horrible or non-existent. I mean, to go, they got Carlos Gonzalez, Anthony Rizzo, Bryce Harper, Beltran. They got some power there. I really don't see any steals anywhere on this team. I mean, you could speculate. I mean, but. And again, I mean, what the fuck? Excuse me, what the hell? Taking 2 catchers. I mean, that's absolutely the word. That's an amateur move. That's a rookie mistake.
But Posey does have numbers to be.
We're not talking about numbers. You definitely do not draft 2 catchers, no matter what the circumstances.
He's not the only one to draft 2 catchers, believe it or not.
Why? Who else drafted 2 catchers this year?
The rat in the back drafted 2 catchers. He drafted Aaron Sebia and he drafted.
Just for the record, that is the absolute worst thing to do in any baseball. That's a guarantee you can't come in first, actually. It's almost like drafting Gordon Beckham. You just don't come in first if you draft him or have him on your team. As far as the Bistro Smokers pitching, though, I like their pitching, how they started out. Zach Greinke, James Shields, Addison Reed, Ryan Vogelsong, I don't know why he's even there, Tom Williamson, Chris Perez, Marco Estrada, Alexei Gondo. He's got some decent picks, but I just can't get over the fact with he's got power. But they have stolen base issues, and they definitely have back of the rotation issues.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And way too many relievers. Way too many relievers.
I kind of like the 3 reliever thing, but they're just basically following suit off the people that are able to do it. You got to be able to get away with it. But I agree with Tom.
You have to have solid first relievers to do that.
Solid. And then, they're back in the rotation, isn't that weekend? Zach Greinke's had elbow issues this whole time. What if he goes down?
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah,
nice.
I did.
I want to say it. I want to say it.
You know what I mean? I know they got us the room.
They got us the room. I didn't
They
want
got
to
us
say
the
it.
room, but
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. The nice guy time is over now. Just to close out on them, I do like their 3 closers. I like that they did it. I like Harper and Rizzo, but you can see they wanted the young guy, but I don't trust their back end of their pitching. And I think that they made some skeptical late outfielder picks. I don't know if I could trust Rios. He's an every other player. And I don't give them the worst odds because I think they had a great first two thirds. And I think they're about 80 to 1 to win. 80 to 1 I give them. They're prepared. They're prepared.
They do, but you lick their balls a little bit. You do. You do.
All right, we're going to go right now with the 10th pick.
Now we're going with the 10th pick of the draft, which was
Jem.
Which was Jem, my team.
Oh,
No, go ahead. You have to start. We'll do it the same way.
I thought Tommy definitely had his plan again, like last year. He was definitely going to go with the pitching, and he was able to combo Kershaw Price, which is really, really sick. I was looking to do this too, and I think this might be the way to go in the future. It's not easy to convince people to pick 2 studs, but let me tell you something. It is awesome. And then you throw in Kimbrel, but the Kimbrel pick might have distracted him from maybe possibly picking somebody else. What I want to see from Tommy this year is he going to be so dead on with his targets like he was in 2012? I mean, he hit the board with everything this year. Chris Davis, Edwin Encarnacion, to name a few, R.A. Dickey. I mean, those were some great targeted picks that came late. So I'd like to see that repeat happen. And was the separation of the Bean team and the Jem? They were close together, but they were at different tables. If that's going to affect them at all, I mean, can Jem carry Bonifacio, Andrus, Everett Cabrera, and Omar Infante? Is that too much of a power, lack of power to give up here? And why come back and get David Ortiz with the heel problems? You traded for him last year. He pissed you off. He didn't come through for you, and you come back and you get him. And that worries me a little bit. And is Alfonso Soriano going to come back at 38 years old with that year he had last year? But I do love one target. I love Brandon Belt. I think he's on a star in the making. And I love Price. And I love Kimbrel, and I love Kershaw, and I love the pitching, but parts of your offense scare me. What do you think about your own team, Tommy?
Well, what I'd have to say is, what I targeted in the draft is pretty much what I got. I'm a super preparer.
Yes,
I study a lot. I study a lot of numbers.
Yes.
I don't really care for baseball. I actually can't stand the sport. It's the dumbest sport in the world. But when it comes to fantasy baseball, obviously, and there's a lot of money involved, it gets my juices flowing. Now, as far as planning to draft a team, I stuck with my plan. My plan was to get the best pitcher available. Now, I knew that people would copy me, inevitably. People got lucky last year, and it allowed them to win. But me, I had a skillful team from front to back, and what contributed to that, or what attributed to that, was my pitching style of last year. Now, I knew people were going to copy that, but I also knew people would go for Verlander. Now, why didn't I go for Verlander first? Well, because my cousin went before me, and I knew he would take him first. But the guy that I really wanted was Clayton Kershaw. Now, you're going to say, Tom, why would you want Clayton Kershaw? When Justin Verlander's more solid. He's older. He's been there. It's a pitcher's park. He's done it for years and years, and he's like automatic. And he is. But the thing is, I knew that Verlander was going to sign an extension. And he did, for $1 gazillion. Okay? They locked him up. Now, guess who? We always talk about in this league about what? The contract and the big old contract year. And everybody goes crazy. Oh, he's in a contract year. He's going to do phenomenal. But let me tell you something. When you have experienced pitchers with pitchers, it's a different ball game. Okay? If there's pitchers and they've been around and they have history, like Clayton Kershaw and Verlander has, because Kershaw has been in the business for a while, even though he's only 25. Now, next year is Clayton Kershaw's contract year. But that the Dodgers are going to lock him up before the year is done. It's a guarantee. That's the direction that they're going. They got a lot of money to spend in LA. Now, so when does that mean that Clayton Kershaw needs to have his biggest and best year? 2013. You're damn right. And that's how it's going to be. Yep, you look at the 2 games the other day. Hey, Verlander had some game. A 1 ratio, no runs, a few strikeouts. I mean, that's unbelievable. But what did Clayton Kershaw do? .444 ratio, complete game. Not only that, this shows you the kind of year he's going to have. He even popped a home run. Now, now that I've explained my style going in, I wanted to follow that up with a 1-2 punch. What better 1-2 punch than Clayton Kershaw and David Price? I personally wanted Clayton Kershaw and Steven Strasburg, but I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Because people, close. I think it was possible.
It was, but in our league, he was going to come up.
I think once the pitches went, then the guy took Strasburg.
Yes, and it was very difficult between David Price and Cole Hamels because I absolutely love. I love Cole Hamels.
David Price is way better than Cole Hamels.
Now to come right back and realize that Craig Kimbrell's sitting there, and the fact that I could put Kershaw, Price, and Kimbrell together, I knew nobody would even be able to compete with that. So I accomplished a goal there. Now as my fourth starter, I have Homer Bailey, which you look at the second half of his year last year, he was untouchable. Untouchable, and that team's going to hit and score runs. Okay? And they have Dusty Baker, they're primed to make a run at the World Series. Glenn Perkins, look at his stats last year. Yeah, he's on a bad team. What does that mean? He's going to play all close games. And that means there are going to be save opportunities. The guy's pretty much unhittable. Brandon McCarthy looks like he's got his shit together, and he's going to play good on a good Arizona team. Gavin Floyd is stinky poopies. Miguel Gonzalez, stinky poopies. Ubaldo Jimenez, stinky poopies. I have a bad back end of my rotation. I have about 3 or 4 holes I need to fill. At least 3. Now, Kyuji Fujikawa should work out because Carlos Marmol is absolutely horrendous. So it's only a matter of time before I get a third reliever. That was a genius move, but a pretty obvious one. As far as David Ortiz, I love the guy. The guy can make a huge difference in your league. A huge difference if he hits. If he doesn't, I'm smart enough to replace him with other people. I thought Oscar Tavares was a bad pick. You shouldn't pick people that you're speculating on. It wastes a position in your reserve. Although people say he's a superstar and this, that, and the other thing. I thought that was a mistake. But seriously, Joe Mauer in the 9th round as my catcher, Paul Goldschmidt, Jason Kipnis, Elvis Andrus, Michael Young,
Jason Hayward.
I'm not done yet. Michael Young, Everett Cabrera, Brandon Belt, Norichiki Aoki, who just cracked a home run the other day, Alfonso Soriano, Emilio Bonifacio, Justin Smoke. These guys are all going to hit. The problem is I need more power, and I have way too much speed and runs. So, but what is the most valuable thing in the middle of the year?
Stolen bases.
Stolen bases, and everybody and their grandmother knows that. Yes, home runs are valuable, but the prettiest thing to have are stolen bases. Everybody loves them and they cost the most. Everybody knows that, and I have an overabundance of them. You know what doesn't get anything? Saves don't get you anything in the middle of the year. Relievers get you stuff now, and that's just a little extra advice. Now that I've judged my team, Rich, and I appreciate you giving me the time to go over my guys.
Now, I do agree with a lot of Tommy's things. I just can't see him. I don't know if he's got the ability to overcome the power issue, and he's most likely going to have to address it. I'm not sold on Ortiz. I think I would have stood away from him. I think he's going to be a headache. He's at an age, and I agree. I mean, the Fujikawa is going to pay off, and I do love the Kipnis. He went Goldschmidt, Kipnis, Haywood, and you got to love that after after Price, Kershaw, and Kimbrell, when he took them 3, he went 3 good hitters. So he did well there. So my odds for Tommy, believe it or not, are not bad. They're 20-1. I think if he can figure out the power issue, he's going to be dangerous. And if guys like Miguel Gonzalez pan out, I think it's going to be a team to deal with. 20-1 is one of the top 3 or 4 choices for post-draft.
The next team that we have is Sleazeball, which is Joe Salimbeni and my uncle Phil Salimbeni. Yeah, who were nice enough to let us film right here.
We film on location at one of the Sleazeball's place over here, and believe me, it doesn't come without a cost. Now, I think draft day showed why I'm so critical of these two. I mean, they're another team, and don't get me wrong, I mean, we love them, but it always seems like the partnerships and these laptops, all partnerships are the ones that cause commotion in these drafts. They delay the drafts. They always push the clock limits. Not just Joe Bean and Phil Bean, but everybody who has a partner and everybody who has a laptop. Do me a favor. Get rid of them things. Use a magazine. You'll enjoy the draft a lot more. There was a time toward the end of the draft when I think Joe Bean spit off 6, 7, 8 names in a row that were already drafted. I mean, it was pretty bad, right? And Uncle Phil constantly throughout the draft, who went, who got picked, who was that? You had to yell, every pick you had to yell out the name and the guy. They have a partner. So, that's some of the things that show that it's like a debacle when these two guys draft. But in terms of their team, Was Pujols the right guy to pick? I mean, is he getting old? Is he still the guy? I mean, I could see taking him and coming back with the pitcher. And I do like Cliff Lee, by the way. I think he was a great guy to come back with. I like him better than Cole Hamels. I tell you the truth, I like him better than Matt Cain. But can you explain Matt Wieters in the 5th round? This is what tells me that this is a team that just is not going to compete. They have no shot. They never have a shot. Chase Headley, I mean, Chase Headley, not only is he hurt, he's not going to repeat that year like he did last year. I mean, he led the National League in RBIs, 115. Now he's got to come back after a month and do the same thing. So I just think that was his breakout year, and he might come back to what he used to do, 20 and 85, 15 steals, you know what I mean? And what about their batting average? I mean, can you handle Dan Ugler, Mark Reynolds, Mike Boustakis, Josh Reddick, Ian Desmond on the same team? I don't think you can handle this. What do you think about that batting average? That's horrible.
I'm gonna disagree with you because I thought that the Sleazeballs had a decent draft, especially since it's a very unique partnership in how it works and the dynamics of it, and a very good one. I happen, as you know, have been partners with Joey Bean before. Yes. I've been on championship teams with him. I've been on runner-ups with him. Yes. We've had some great teams and great partnerships, and we have some good brains that we put together and we do good. So I know he's a good partner, and I know my uncle is a great guy and a great partner as well. So I don't think it's anything to do with the partnership. What I'd have to say is
the focus.
Huh?
Is it the focus?
I just think I think Joey is another one who, like 4 people in our league, I just think Joey and Phil Benny have old schoolitis. I just think they pick old names. They're last second, I think, with looking at the book, so they don't get up to date on maybe who's new.
They follow the book.
When they do pick old school people, they know who to pick, though, and they do pick good people. I mean, God knows, Cliff Lee, Yovani Gallardo, Albert Pujols, Ian Desmond, Chase Headley, I mean, Adam Jones. I mean, come on. They got some good guys, and the problem is their average is horrendous. You're going to have to address steals. You're going to have to address the pitching. They can address and repair over the year. They got some great reserve people, but I just think their batting average and their stolen bases are going to need addressing. What kind of odds do you give the Sleazeballs?
Well, I mean, I was trying to look at this team before I scrutinized it, and again, I mean, I totally think it does come down to focus, and it's totally last minute preparation. It's all about the magazine, and you can't just buy a magazine. Taking Matt Wieters in the 5th round is a magazine pick. For me, I just think that their batting average is going to be last place. So that's a dead category. They don't have pitching depth at all. Nathan Eovaldi.
What are the odds going to be?
I tell you the truth, I mean, 500 to 1.
Wow, you give them the worst odds.
So far, the worst odds, yes.
Wow, so you think the Sleazeballs are the worst team?
Right now, I think so, the worst team.
And we're filming this in their house?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's a lot of balls.
Yes, the worst team. I apologize.
I
gotta tell the truth.
No, you don't.
I gotta tell the truth.
You don't apologize for nothing. You're
horrible. I gotta tell the truth.
Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is Paul Scavello's MVP. Now, he was the dude in the back.
How long did we wait for him?
Was he Tattoo Guy?
Tattoo Guy.
Tattoo Guy. But you know what? Tattoo Guy seemed like a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
He seemed like a nice guy. He was a gentleman and a half.
This was his first rotisserie style draft. And he did take Strasburg #1.
And you know what? You hit it right in the head. I said, oh, that's early. But then I said, because I wanted him. That's why it was early. I said, you know what? In my head, I said, good pick. And he was a gentleman and a half.
Yeah, I think that he picked him because, he felt that maybe it was a smart thing to do.
He did come late.
There was some glitches. He announced a couple of players that were already taken.
Nothing major, though.
Nothing major.
Nothing major.
I think, like Pittsburgh Crawford, he was a little anxious. He wanted to show that he belonged in the league. And I'm glad I have him in the league. Pittsburgh Crawford's the other new guy.
Oh, okay.
So I think Paulie might have been a little anxious. I mean, I love Strasburg, I love Hamilton, but I don't know, man. I'm not sold on Starlin Castro. I think he's one of the most overrated players. People love him. I don't love him, and I think he's got some names that show power, but they're not. They have limits. They're more like 25, 85 guys. Cespedes, Trumbo, Mike Morse, these guys, Chris Davis. I mean, they're not 3,100 guys. And I think Hamilton needs that support. So yeah, he's got some sexy names up there. Magazine picks, Trumbo, Morse. Morse has got the power, but he's on Seattle. So he definitely wanted to go offense. But where these guys play on bad teams, and that's another thing too. You can't have guys on bad teams. You might have one or two, but not all of them. Look at his pitching staff, okay? Jason Grilli, closer on a bad team. Wade Miley, he's already having issues. Shelby Miller's a rookie. Bobby Parnell, so you got Grilli and Parnell, the Mets and the Pirates. Edison Volquez, Sean Doolittle, what's that all about? So I think that other than Strasburg, he's got players on losing teams. And what about Morneau and Euclid? Those are old-timers. Adam Lynn. I think that he had a good mentality and a good idea. I just think that he picked the wrong players on a bunch of losing teams. You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that at all. What I'm going to first say is, as far as his offense, I thought he did great. I think he's got a great offense. I think he's got stolen base issues like a lot of people do. You know,
the also bad.
The problem is you're saying that 25 home runs, 80 is not good. It's phenomenal, and you'll be surprised how little people have 25 home runs. So I don't know where you're getting 1 million people with 30 home runs, but But he's got plenty of power. The place where he loses out on is a little bit on stolen bases, like I said, but he also loses out on his pitching. And the reason he loses out on his pitching is he's got two phenomenal guys. He's got Steven Strasburg and Johnny Cueto. Great 1-2 punch. I'm not a believer in Wade Miley. Adrian Griffin is speculative at best. Shelby Miller is speculative at best. These are book speculative. These pitchers are going to do good. These pitchers are having great springs, or these are young guys that everybody wants. I think he got into the hype of those picks. Either that, or he just wasn't prepared for the second half, the second 2/3 of his pitching staff. I disagree. I think he doesn't have relief issues. I like Jason Grilli and I like Bobby Parnell. His reserves leave a lot to be desired, but then again, a lot of people's do. I think his team is okay. I think it's repairable. What kind of odds do you give MVP?
Well, just based on the fact that I think he's got a very bland team, a very boring team. He's got too many pitches on losing teams. He's not going to do well in wins. I think there's a lot of work needed here. You are capable. If you're capable, there are players in the free agent market, but I give him about 251. Wow. 250 to 1 odds. It's just not enough for me. It's just too boring.
All right.
Too boring.
The next one we got the 13th pick, Utah Nonsense.
Utter nonsense.
Rob Wolf. If there ever was a person that could squeeze in and fit another nutsack on your chin, it would be Rob Wolf, because out of all the people, you just love his voice, you love his curly hair, you love the way he dresses like Nature Boy, you love the fact that he's natural. You love this man to death, and it's just, I just had to say that, because it's so, when he comes in a room, it's like you're on your tippy toes, and
I don't know what you're talking about.
You fly around like a cherub. But anyway, Rob Wolf's team, what do you think about it?
Well, you know what, I think Rob definitely, and he always has a plan coming into the draft. He really does. And I think he wanted to come this time, because I commented and I criticized that, he's been getting flustered lately. And to Rob, that's a disrespect. Because this guy loves baseball. He actually really believes that he's the king of fantasy. And you got to have that mentality. So I think he was coming into the draft with the bull by the horns. And he promised that he wouldn't get flustered and he would do well. He never wastes a pick. Even if it doesn't work out, he still has some kind of mentality behind the pick. I like Rob's team a lot, but there are some issues here. I just don't like Edwin Encarnacion. I don't think he's going to come back. That year that he had last year was ridiculous. I don't trust him. Aaron Hill, too. I don't trust him either. Another guy that came out of nowhere, and he's often got lost, too, in season. So, to me, the Encarnacion and the Aaron Hill pick were a little bit too early. They were uncharacteristic of Rob. And then he goes with Desmond Jennings. I love Evan Longoria, but I think Rob's got issues there. Besides that, Darvish, can he anchor a staff? Will he anchor it in an elite way? I love Darvish, but the Rangers got rid of a lot of guys. And what happened to Rob's closer mentality? Don't you remember when he was like 4? He would draft 4 closers. He would be the first guy to get closer. He got away from that. And ever since he's got away from that, he hasn't done as well. I think he's totally changed his mentality. I don't know why. Something happened along the way. But he's got to regroup. He's got to realize that this draft, there's some people in this draft that actually prepare more than I think he does. what do you think about his team? I mean, do you like anything about it?
Well, first and foremost, let me say I like Rob Wolf too.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like fitting his nutsack on my chin. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I like Rob Wolf's first pick. I like Prince Fielder.
I love Prince
Okay,
Fielder.
I like Prince Fielder. I can't stand his second pick, Evan Longoria.
I love him.
I've never been a fan, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rob Wolf has loved him for a long time. I love the Edwin Encarnacion pick. I'm totally a fan.
Too early.
He's totally going to do it again. And Desmond Jennings is a good pick. Austin Jackson is a take chance pick, but what he can produce is a lot. But unfortunately, his average does not jive with me. Nick Swisher, I totally love that pick. He's going to be batting cleanup on the Cleveland lineup, and I like that new and improved team, especially for the manager there. Coco Crisp, Aaron Hicks, Victor Martinez. Okay, I like his offense. I think his offense is pretty good. I think he's got a lot of balance. It could fall apart. It's held together by a thread, but I think it can be very good. He might have some stolen base issues as well. As far as his pitching staff, I like Yu Darvish. I like Jeff Samardzija. I like Brandon Merrill. I like Hiroki Kuroda. Okay, those four is a good start. But Jason Hamill, McDonald, Peralta, Koch, and Balfour and Jansen totally got away from his relief ways back in the day. Totally not a Rob Wolf team.
No.
And
even last year it wasn't a Rob Wolf team.
Yeah, I guess so. And it's just
And how about
very, very tough. It's not a Rob Wolf team. I'm sorry, Rob. You're a nice guy, but not a Rob Wolf team. I give his offense thumbs up. I give the pitching. But is it repairable? Yes. But the fact that that offense is held by a thin thread, it's going to be tough. But things could fall right for Rob Wolf.
I can't get over how bad a draft he had after the 19th round. I mean, Coco Crisp, Jason McDonald, Ryan.
Let me ask you then, Rich.
Ryan Duman.
What kind of odds do you give?
I give Rob 40-1, and those are pretty good odds.
No, those are ball licking odds.
No. I mean, he is Rob Wolf now. He knows what he's doing.
I know.
He could recover a little bit.
He could
recover. I mean, on the good side, he knows how to run a team. I just can't trust his pitching staff. Brandon Morrow. I don't like Aaron Hill. Jason Hamill. I do like Samardzija. 40-1 though. It's not as good as your odds. It's fifth or sixth.
So what does that mean? That my team.
I think that he had too poor of a second half of the draft. Rob has lost his step. I hate to say it.
Okay, so 40-1.
40-1 odds on that.
The last thing that we're going to talk about is the cream team. Darrell Williamson, who I love to death.
Yeah, I mean, Darrell, how are you? I mean, but you talk about a guy that was just, I don't know what happened to him. I thought his draft was a debacle as far as following. He said Bryce Harper in the 25th round. I mean, that's pretty bad. He couldn't hear it all. He constantly says things. The same old Darrell. You know what I mean? But I think Darrell's actually getting worse. I mean, I thought that once again, which I can't believe, he had the 14th pick. Could you believe it? I mean, the 14th pick.
I think you set it up that way.
I don't know. Some people think I cheated and automatically I had his name in my hand, so that when I pretended I put it in the hat, I pulled out the cream team. But I didn't pick the name out. My uncle did. So you can blame my uncle for that. Darrell is just getting old. He's getting old quick. And here he goes, shortstop. Troy Tulowitzki, Jose Reyes. I mean, he can't get away from his 14th pick and compounding it. He lacks an innovation, and you know what that comes from? That lacks preparation. And he's the king of the old, picking the oldsie. They got the case of the oldsies, or whatever you want to call it. Josh Johnson, Drew Stubbs, Ryan Ludwig, Chris Young. How many times has he had Chris Young on his team? The outfield. Every year. Carlos Santana, Matt Latos, Ricky Weeks. This guy picks Ian Kennedy. He picks the same guys every year. I mean, but can we look at his team? I mean, does he have that bad of a team? I just think CeCe Sabathia is not a good anchor this year. Ryan Howard, he took him with his 5th pick. I mean, the guy's 34 years old. I mean, Carlos Santana, I mean, he's a catcher, dude. He's never going to do 3100. Everybody hopes. Ricky Weeks, I mean, I can't stand Ricky Weeks. I hate him. Josh Johnson I like, but Markham's always getting hurt. Steve Cishek, he took Wei and Chen from you. I mean, what do you think about this team? I just Darrell lost it. He can't operate a team. I don't think this team has a shot whatsoever.
Well, Darrell is a name picker.
He's a name picker.
He's a nose picker and a name picker. I'm just kidding.
And an ass picker. He picks
but the thing with Darrell's team is I don't think he did so bad. I think he's got some good names on his team. He's got Carlos Santana. He's got Ryan Howard, who I think is going to have a bounce back year. And, power is power. With those guys, it doesn't matter what their age is. If they got the weight behind them, they can knock it out of the park. And just like David Ortiz, Ryan Howard hits out of a bandbox, so that's not a bad pick. Ricky Weeks, I can't stand either. Troy Tulowitzki, how can you go wrong? I mean, you got a lock and a half.
He gets hurt.
He does get
hurt. So does Jose Reyes.
They do.
What if they both do?
But they're not this year. And you could always trade one of them because everybody shortstops are definitely at a premium. There are not a lot around. Pablo Sandoval I don't like because he gets hurt. Lonnie Chisenhall I think is a phenomenal pick. Chris Young is a tough pick, but maybe he's got a new fresh start in Oakland. The second half of that offense, the bottom third, is absolutely horrendous.
No batting average.
No batting average.
Rondon's a wasted pick. Mastriani is a wasted pick.
Yeah.
Erasmo Ramirez is a wasted pick.
You do have CC Sabathia Dow, which is nice.
He's going to trade him.
You have Papelbon, who is phenomenal. You have Matt Latos, which is phenomenal. You have Ian Kennedy, which is phenomenal. We got to see how Josh Johnson does. You know, he could be stinky poopies. He could be great. His elbow could fall off. The rest of that pitching staff, with the exception of Wei Yin Chen, who you did steal from me, everybody else is absolutely horrendous. That second half of that pitching staff is horrendous. The backups probably look better than the second half of that starting pitching staff. That's really all I got to say. You know, Darryl is a name picker.
He's a name picker.
A lot of, well, that's it for Darryl. What do you give him? What odds you give him? I'll give an overall assessment later.
I don't think he has the worst team. I still think Sleazeballs is worse. And I give Darryl about 400 to 1. But, that doesn't mean much. I mean, he's just going to be in the bottom of the barrel. I mean, so
all right.
Those are our post-draft odds.
Well, Rich, now that you've had all the post-draft odds, what are your final comments? And then I'll give some final comments, and then you can thank everybody and so on.
Sure. I appreciate that, Tom. And thank you for co-hosting the show with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to our producers, Phil Bean and Phil Bean Jr., and our director. Great people. And thank you for on location. We appreciate it. I just want to reiterate as far as I just think that the two teams that definitely don't have a shot are Sleazeballs and Cream Team. I think Time Zones is definitely the favorite to win it. He's piloted it before. I love my team. I'm coming off the title. I think Tommy Polina's got a third choice. I think if he corrects the power, he's going to be tough to beat. And Rob Wolf. I just think that the drafts are just way more intense now. I think there's about 5 or 6 teams that get into it, and it's really those 5 or 6 teams that have a shot. The other ones have to get lucky. And some people do this for fun, and some people do it for money, and some people do it for both. But when you put $600 in the league and you want to win $4 grand, and you come year after year and you raise your intensity level and you prepare, you're going to enjoy it even more. And when you win $4,000 and you get that ring, you're going to love it. And I just wish everybody the best of luck, especially the newcomers, Paul Scavello, Chris Dolan, and John Coleman. And except for the rat in the back, who I think is a little undermatched. But that's it. Good luck, everybody. And thank you for enjoying my post-draft odds. And Tommy, what would you like to say? I'd
just like to say it's really nice. I think we got a bunch of good guys together for a long time. It's a nice league. Everybody breaks balls and has fun. The one thing I will part with is it just seems that every year where people seem to screw up in the draft is towards the end. It's their preparation. They don't have the follow through. They're screwing up even earlier now. There's 6 rounds left, and people are already talking about going home. And I'm sorry, but that's where you win a league. You don't win the league in the beginning. You don't win the league with a couple picks that you let slip through, or you made 1 or 2 bad picks. It's those last 4 to 6 picks that people do not concentrate on, and this is why people don't win, or they got no shot.
You gotta have a plan.
You gotta have a plan, and you gotta have players.
You gotta have players. You gotta have more than just players.
And you gotta study those players.
Yes.
So on that note, I'd just like to say thank you for running it, and I think this was a great success. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video.
Thank you, man. Good luck.
Take care.